To order. Welcome to meeting number 68 of the House of Commons Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Pursuant to an order of reference of March 27, 2023, the committee is meeting to continue its study of Bill C-41, an act to amend the criminal code and to make consequential amendments to the other acts. Today's meeting is taking place in hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of June 23, 2022. Members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. Since the members, they're all members and no witnesses that are not familiar with the Zoom applications, I will skip any Zoom instructions. On our agenda today, we will continue our clause-by-clause study of Bill C-41. We have again with us officials to provide answers on technical questions throughout our study today. I want to thank you for making yourselves available to help us once more. So we have from the Department of Citizenship and Immigration, Teresa Mateus, to the right, who's Acting Director General, Policy and Outreach, Afghanistan Sector. We also have from the Department of Global Affairs, Nancy Siegel. Thank you for coming and joining with us. We have Department of Justice, Robert Brookfield, the Director General and Senior General Counsel, Criminal Law Policy. Thank you. And we also have Glenn Gilmore, Counsel, Criminal Law Policy Section. And last, we have from the Department of Public Safety, Richard Bilodeau, Director General. So welcome to all of you. Let's return from where we were before adjourning meeting 61. So resuming consideration of Clause 1, an act on amendment CPC 1, page 7 of the amendment package. Yes, Ms. Damoth.
Thanks, Chair. Just before we move on to CPC 1, I've had conversations with members about NDP 3. The wording that we used, it's been brought to my attention that using the term international humanitarian law means that the clause, it can only be used in instances of armed conflict. And that wasn't our intent. We wanted a humanitarian crisis to qualify. So, and this is supported by some of the aid organizations to whom I've spoken. So the suggestion is that we remove the word humanitarian. So it would read international law. So I know we need unanimous consent to move back to that clause to make that change, Chair. And I think if you seek it, you shall find.
Absolutely. I think, do we have unanimous consent? Yes. Thank you. So we're going back to
NDP
3.
And on the, well, you've got,
Unanimous consent to do it.
Okay.
Do we agree on changing the words?
So,
Yes.
and the change is to remove the word humanitarian.
Perfect. All consented? Clerks are good? Perfect. Thank you. And now we'll go back to CPC 1. I think it was Mr. Janus Yeps.
Yeah, Chair, following some discussion among parties, we'd like to seek unanimous consent to withdraw this amendment.
Have to get a vote for that, or I'm okay? I got unanimous consent. Perfect. Thank you. It's withdrawn.
Ms. McPherson has her hand up, so I don't know if she was
Yes, Ms. McPherson.
objecting to the
Was
UC
that,
or.
Ms. McPherson, are you giving unanimous consent?
No, I just wanted to make sure that we were doing it in order. I thought that we moved on without actually passing the NDP 3 with the amended language.
No, NDP 3 has been amended and it's done. And now we just move to remove CPC 1. Okay. Now next we'll go on to NDP 4. Note the text, I think, of NDP 4 and NDP 5 are the same, except for the use of the term terrorist group in the First Amendment and of, quote, a listed entity, end quote, in the Second Amendment. In addition, the text of NDP 4 is identical to the text of Part A of Amendment Block 1. Shall NDP 4 carry? No?
I can speak to it if you'd like. I'd like to.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Ms. McPherson, I'm a bit rusty today. Go ahead.
I also am a bit rusty, so forgive me if I miss things. So yeah, of course, we're bringing forward this NDP 4. It is the purpose of this is to introduce a list of geographic areas. This was something that we heard
Point out, Mr. President. Point d'ordre, Monsieur le Président.
Interpretation?
Il y a un problème avec l'interprétation, avec malheureusement le retour de Mme McPherson.
I'm sorry, there's a problem with translation. There's some feedback with Ms. McPherson.
Have anyone with their microphones on that need to be turned off? Mr. Chair, shall I try again?
Yeah,
Je vais juste faire le message.
I just want to get the message from interpreters when Ms. McPherson, who was speaking, I think the microphones in the room have to be turned off when Ms. McPherson is speaking. It would be easier for the interpreters. Thank you.
McPherson, we'll have you start again.
Thank you. And please just let me know if you need me to stop if the interpretation is not able to go forward. So NDP 4, the purpose of that is to introduce a list of geographic areas. We heard that from testimony, particularly from the Aid for Afghanistan Coalition. They recommended that the ministers responsible for the authorization process also be responsible for making the findings of what geographic areas are under the substantial control of a terrorist group and make a list of the identified areas available to organizations who wish to operate in those geographies. This amendment is necessary. This is something that that we know from within the sector that if we don't have this list, individual humanitarian actors would be forced to guess what geographic areas are of concern to the Canadian government. That's unfair. It puts that onus on the organizations. And it would compromise the perceived neutrality and impartiality of the humanitarian actors that are working in these areas. Which is hugely problematic. We are always trying to ensure that those that are working in some of these most challenging areas are able to maintain their neutrality. It keeps them safe. It keeps the people that they are helping safe. It allows them to do the work that is so vitally important. The solutions offered so far by the government to this particular problem have been unclear, unsatisfactory, and I think the sector has been very, very united on this, that they are unacceptable to this point. So, as we've heard from witnesses, this is why we've brought forward this recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. We'll now go to
I'm
Mr.
Ms. McPherson, actually.
Ms. McPherson. This is Ms. Every time I have a red-eye flight that week, this is what happens. Mr. Genius.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that the original version of the bill was inadequate in this respect, and I agree that it's an important objective to ensure that organizations are not in a position where they have to guess what applies where. Conservatives will be opposing this amendment because we think that there is a better way of achieving this objective that provides certainty to the sector without requiring the publication of a public list, and we will be looking forward to sharing that solution shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Genius. Ms. Damoff?
Thank you, Chair. And similar to what Mr. Genius just said, we support the intent of this, but know that publishing a list of geographic areas is problematic for the government. However, the aid organizations do want some kind of certainty as to whether or not they can operate in areas. So there is a future amendment coming forward that we will be supporting, and we will not be supporting NDP 4.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. And it actually just occurs to me that it might be worth laying out what that amendment is. It'll save us time later, and that way people following will know what the alternative is. We are going to propose an amendment later on that requires that if organizations seek information from the government about whether an application is required in a particular case, that a response has to be given. So it addresses the concern of uncertainty, and it reflects a recognition that things can change very quickly on the ground. So if an organization is wanting to do development work in a particular area, they can put in an application, they can ask the question, and the government will tell them yes or no. And I think this is a real problem that had to be solved, but our concern has been that some of the solutions that have been proposed have just been very, very broad in their implications beyond the situations of delivering development assistance. So things like changing the definition of terrorist terrorist organization to include only listed entities and not to include groups that are not listed. These kinds of changes would be, I think, more sweeping in their implications. So the requirement for government to respond to questions that are asked, I think, addresses the issue. And given that we're trying to deal with this bill quickly, and given that, given the timelines, I think we should focus as narrowly as possible on the specific issues around delivery of development assistance, and try to leave other issues and other potential unintended consequences for other legislation. So again, just reiterating our opposition to this amendment, but we will be proposing, I think, what is a more precise alternative shortly.
Thank you. Ms. McPherson?
Thank you. Frankly, the alternative is putting the onus for all of this on organizations. And what that does is it means, there is no clarity provided whatsoever about when they need to ask, what the timeframes are, who they ask, what this all looks like. The potential for this to be weaponized by government is huge. I mean, frankly, what happens if an organization is working in an area and the reality changes on the ground? How do they know when they have to ask? This provides very little clarity. What is being proposed provides almost no protection for organizations. So for me, I again would urge my colleagues to support NDP4. I recognize that they are not going to do that, but I want to make it very clear that the alternative solutions that are being brought forward will not help organizations.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Seeing no more speakers, shall NDP4 carry? Mr. Clerk, take a vote.
Yes. Okay. Madame Damoff,
No?
Madame Brière,
Nope.
Madame Diab,
No.
Monsieur Souza,
No.
Madame Dillon,
No.
Mr. Genwis,
No.
Mr. Moore,
No.
Madame Vecchio,
No.
Mr. Couric,
No.
Monsieur Brunet-Duceppe,
Oui.
Madame McPherson,
Yes.
Yea 2, nay 9. Mr. Chair. Yea 2, nay 9. Defeated.
NDP5 is the same, am I right? So I don't,
I won't be moving that, Chair.
okay. Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Block 1. You can move. Does Mr. Brunel-Duceppe want to move block 1?
Ce qu'on avait compris, c'est que le NPD5 avait été préféré.
NDP5, I was wondering, I understood that NDP5 was preferable to the NGOs. So I want to make sure with my friend Heather that that's the case. And if it is still the case, I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to withdraw Block 1 in favor of NDP5.
We won't need a unanimous consent because you haven't moved it yet. So if you don't move it, we're okay.
Mr. Chair, can I
Yes, Ms.
respond to
McPherson.
that very quickly?
Yes,
So,
Ms. McPherson.
to my colleague, just to say that because NDP4 and NDP5 were the same, but they just had different terminologies that we had already determined. NDP4 was what the sector asked for. It was voted against by as you just witnessed, by the Liberals and the Conservatives. So if you were to bring forward Block 1, I would certainly be in support of that.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Now we go to
Moment.
CPC 1. Sorry, Monsieur Desal.
À ce moment-là, je vais proposer.
Well, then I will. Would you like me to read Block 1? I would propose that. Shall I read it?
You can just say you want to move it. I think that's suffice. But if you want to read it,
Bloc.
I'm tabling Block 1. I think people know what's in it. We discussed it a great deal in committee, so I don't really need to show its validity. So I think we can just go right away with this.
recorded vote.
Sure. Madame Damoff,
No?
Madame Brière,
No.
Madame Diab,
No.
Monsieur Souza, Madame Dillon,
No.
Mr. Genuis.
No.
Mr. Moore.
No.
Madame Vecchio.
No.
Monsieur Couric.
No.
Monsieur Brunel-Ducet.
Oui.
Madame McPherson.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Yea 2, nay 9.
Yea 2, nay 9. The motion is defeated. Now to CPC 1.01. I don't know if Mr. Genuis would like to move it.
Thank you, Chair. I think I've substantially foreshadowed this. This is designed to address the concern about organizations having to potentially guess where the law applies. And it says that if organizations ask the government if they need an authorization in a particular case, the government has to tell them. There's a common law principle of officially induced error, which would effectively mean that if the government told someone they didn't need to apply, then they would not be prosecuted if they did not apply. So it provides substantial protection for organizations. It provides them with means of getting information. It was pointed out earlier that this puts an onus on the organizations to ask the government the question. That's true. I mean, in all other things equal, it would be slightly easier if they could just look online. But this does provide a greater degree of certainty, and it's not that onerous. I think hopefully the government will develop a process. It's not that onerous where organizations can say at a very simple level, we plan on doing X in Y region. Do we need to apply or not? And the government will tell them yes or no, and then they'll be able to either make the application knowing that they had to make the application, or they'll be free and clear to proceed. This, I think, addresses all of the issues around requirements to list places or organizations, because public lists of applicable places or organizations were all designed with the objective of giving organizations certainty. This is what gives organizations certainty. So I think it cleans up a significant problem with the bill, and I think it does so on a basis that's acceptable to the government and therefore will not lead to further delays. It's a reality that this bill is not perfect, but if we try to amend it in ways that were fundamentally unacceptable to the government, they would just not call it going forward. So I think the Conservatives have tried to play a reasonable role in finding compromises that work, and I think this amendment achieves that.
Ms. Demuth?
Thank you, Chair. And we will support this amendment. And I thank my Bloc colleague and NDP colleague for bringing forward previous amendments which would not have been workable from the government's point of view to provide those lists. This does address the concern that organizations have expressed to me that how do we know? And if there isn't a published list on a website, it's a simple matter of asking. One of the questions that came up to me is what if a group is working in northern Nigeria, for example, and they don't know, the situation changes. They can ask the government, but my Conservative colleague mentioned there is in common law a principle that they're not going to be held liable for operating somewhere when the situation changes, when they're working out of their intentions are they're well intentioned where they're working. So I think this is a valuable compromise to give organizations that certainty that they've been asking for, to know whether or not they can go into a region or continuing operating in a region, or if there's an organization that is questionable and they just want that certainty. So we will support this amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Demuth. Ms. McPherson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment to me is the epitome of folks that have never in fact worked on the ground in a humanitarian or international development context. This is putting the onus, as I said, very much on the organizations to ask the public safety minister for guidance. We're expecting there to be some policy things made clear within this legislation. Anytime you have that be the case, that means that this can be weaponized. So all of a sudden, if we get a different government, if we get a different minister, the ability for the minister to weaponize against organizations is there. You know, we have no understanding from this legislation on who the organization would ask, what the timelines for that would be. Things do not move quickly when you have one ministry, let alone when you have three. What happens if Global Affairs Canada and the public safety, what if they disagree? What if the determination changes? Do we have to ask every single day in certain contexts? This is adding just another layer of bureaucracy to what is already a ridiculous process for organizations to have to go through. This is not a solution. This is not what the sector asked for. This is very clearly legislators who have no idea what humanitarian and international development looks like on the ground, trying to make decisions for those organizations. It's a mistake. We cannot support this.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Seeing no other Mr. Genis.
Yeah, I disagree in general with Ms. McPherson, but I mean, I would be open to the idea of saying that there should be a timeline around the response. I don't know. I'd be curious what other members think around the table. So if the concern is that a government could theoretically maliciously not respond or give bad information to certain organizations that they don't like, which was, I think, sort of the implication. Like, I don't think that's that likely in this process, but I also think that's a risk in general with an authorization regime, right? Like, an authorization regime involves the government authorizing activity or not. But if the concern is a timely response to that initial request, you know, I think that's a plausible sub amendment. I'd be open to hear what others think on that. But I mean, again, I think this is a good compromise. And if that sub amendment's not forthcoming, then we should just adopt the amendment.
Ms. Damoff?
So I think it's always risky putting a timeline on it. Well, I agree with Ms. McPherson that you want it done in a timely way. For us to decide right now, I think that's something we could do in regulations. And also we know that this legislation will be up for review. And if it turns out that it's not working, it's something that can be considered when it's up for review. So I don't think that today we can settle on a timeline, to be honest with you. I think the message is loud and clear that we want it done, and it must be done quickly. But again, I think that's something that's developed during the regulations, not put in the legislation itself.
Ms. McPherson?
And I would just say, too, that in terms of a timeline, I mean, realistically, we have an under-resourced Global Affairs Canada that is not able to meet the timelines that they are given already. We already know that you can set a timeline. It's not necessarily adhered to. That already happens. So I don't think it's worthwhile to be doing that at this point.
Okay, seeing no speakers, if we can put this to a vote. Shall CPC 1.01 carry recorded vote?
Agreed on division.
Or agreed on division? Okay,
I think we could have a recorded vote.
if we've requested a recorded vote, it'll happen to be a recorded vote, sure.
Thank you. Madame Damoff.
Yes?
Madame Brière.
Oui.
Madame Diab.
Oui.
Monsieur Souza.
Yes.
Madame Dillon.
Oui.
Mr. Genuis.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Madame Vecchio.
Yes.
Mr. Couric.
Yes.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
No.
Madame McPherson.
No.
Yeas 9. Nay 2.
Yeas 9, nays 2, the amendment carries. NDP 6. Just want to have some clarification on this from Ms. McPherson on what the term Canadian refers to in line 9 of page 3 of Bill C-41. This will assist us in determining what the amendment is. Sorry?
Mr. Chair, I will not be moving NDP 6.
Resolves that issue. Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Okay. Okay, I believe there's a new NDP 7. Ms. McPherson, would you like to move that?
Yes, please. And I can speak to it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So NDP 7, so basically we heard during the testimony, we've heard when we've spoken to the sector that the term links is not defined anywhere in the legislation, nor does it carry any legal weight. So the Aid for Afghanistan group coalition has shared this with us. We heard this time and time again. The language in the bill is too discretionary, and it could risk guilt by association. That was something that Ms. West clearly explained during your testimony. And because the term links is so vague, this could lead to the denial of applications based on conjecture of relationship between a terrorist group and an applicant. Doesn't give the reassurance that organizations are looking for. So we therefore put forward this amendment with some specific language used to assess the relationships between the applicant and the other parties. So Part A of this amendment replaces the term links with clear criteria, which the minister will take into account. And Part B of the amendment replaces lines 2 to 7 on page 5 that mention, quote, is being or has been investigated. As has been argued, that it should be the simple fact of being investigated or charged, therefore presumes guilt, which opens the door to discriminatory or overly discretionary decisions. So we are asking for this just to provide that clarity that the sector has been asking for. Thank you.
Any other comments? Nope. Shall NDP 7 carry? No. I see nays when recorded vote.
Madame Damoff.
No?
Madame Brière.
Nope.
Madame Diable.
No.
Monsieur Souza. Madame Dillon. Mr. Genwis.
No.
Mr. Moore.
No.
Madame Vecchio.
No.
Mr. Couric.
No.
Monsieur Brunel-Duceppe.
Oui.
Madame McPherson.
Yes.
Yea 2, nay 9, Mr. Chair.
Yea 2, nay 9, so it is defeated. Block Amendment 2.
Oui. Écoutez,
Well, quite frankly, I don't want to lose time today. I don't want to waste time on debates. So I will table block 1, and I would ask that it go to a vote. I think everyone has already looked at it.
You mean? Okay.
bloc 2.
Yeah, you said 1 first.
Non, non.
Block 2. Interpretation showed 2.
Ok, mais c'est bloc 2 que j'ai dit. Il y a eu un problème.
Yes, I said block 2 with the interpreter. I know what happened to block 1.
If no debate, shall we move it to a vote?
Is it recorded?
Recorded vote? Yeah.
We're supposed to.
Okay. Madame Damoff.
No?
Madame Brière.
No.
Monsieur Souza. Pardon. Madame Diable.
No.
Madame Dillon. Mr. Genwis.
No.
Mr. Moore.
No.
Madame Vecchio.
No.
Mr. Couric.
No.
Monsieur Brunel-Duceppe.
Oui.
Madame McPherson.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, yea 2, nay 9.
Yea 2, no 9. It is not carried. It's defeated. NDP 7.1. Ms. McPherson, would you like to move it?
I'm not going to move that one.
Okay. NDP 8.
I am not moving that one either, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And NDP 9.
I am going to move this one.
Okay.
So this ensures that a new application can be made after 30 days if the first application is rejected. So basically, it is taking, it is adding activity until the end of the 30th day after the day on. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It gives some clarity to the organizations. Thanks.
It's all agreed? Yep, it's agreed. It carries. Okay. NDP 10. Ms. McPherson?
Yes, and I will be moving this one as well. So NDP 10 clarifies and narrows the minister's power to request additional information. It ensures that it must relate only to the authorization or its renewal, and it should be read. So we would like it to be referred to with NDP 11 as well. So the sector has argued that the powers granted to the minister in Bill C-41 are too broad, and that Bill C-41 should clearly state what the requested information may be used for. So it's providing some of that narrowing of scope for the minister's powers.
We go to Mr. Jennings. I just wanted to let Mr. Jennings know if NDP 10 is adopted, CPC 1.1 cannot be moved due to a line conflict. Both amendments seek to amend line 30 on page 6. Go ahead.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Jennings.
thank you, Chair. And I'm proposing a sub-amendment that would incorporate some of the additional language of CPC 1.1 into NDP 10. The CPC 1.1 is takes all of the language from NDP 10, but then adds to it. So I'm proposing in the sub-amendment to add the additional part that's in 1.1 to NDP 10. I can read it out, but I think that's fairly clear that if the sub-amendment is adopted, that the NDP 10 will look the same as CPC 1.1 currently looks.
Can we have that read out just so it's clear for everyone?
Yeah, so it adds B by adding after line 9 on page 8 the following: any information collected or disclosed under subsection 1 must only be used for the administration and enforcement of sections 83.031 to 83.0392, and 3, the public safety minister must take reasonable steps to ensure that any entity assisting that minister under subsection 1 complies with subsection 2.
No other debate. Shall shall the sub-amendment carry? Yes? Yes? Okay. Shall NDP 10 as amended carry? Yes. Okay. Okay. So now CPC 1.1, you're not moving that, I assume, so it was, okay, CPC 2.
We won't be moving that one.
Won't be moving, okay. And NDP 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will be moving this one. This is following up from the amended NDP 10. This again clarifies and narrows the minister's powers related to the security assessment. So it grants, right now, the bill grants the minister broad powers to ask any additional information, and this would limit that. So it would clearly state what can be asked and would ensure that the minister destroys the information as soon as there are no longer reasonable grounds to believe the information is necessary to administer and enforce the authorization regime.
Mr. Genius?
Chair, I would just say I do not support this amendment. I don't think it's necessary in light of the revised version of NDP 10 that we passed. I think that achieves the same objectives, and CPC NDP 11 is, it adds a whole bunch of other things, in particulars that I don't think are required given the other amendment.
Okay. Okay, we shall vote on it, seeing no debate. Recorded vote, I guess. Yeah.
Madame Damoff,
No?
Madame Brière,
No?
Madame Diab,
No.
Monsieur Souza,
No.
Madame Dillon,
No.
Mr. Genuis,
No.
Mr. Moore,
No.
Madame Vecchio,
No.
Mr. Couric,
No.
Monsieur Brunel-Duceppe,
Oui.
Madame McPherson,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you two, nay nine.
Yea 2, nays 9, it does not carry. NDP 12. Ms. McPherson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this particular one is again coming with NDP 13, so they would be included so that they should be considered together, I think, to some degree. Basically, it is the idea of introducing the amicus curiae who would be able to participate in hearings in the absence of the public and be able to be appointed so that they would be able to provide that oversight in the event that that we weren't allowed to have public hearings on certain things. So it's basically just providing that additional level of support for organizations, that additional level of protection for them.
Sorry, Chair. Point of order. Maybe I missed something. Was NDP 12 moved because the Ms. McPherson seems to be speaking to NDP 13?
Well, NDP 12 is supposed to be read alongside NDP
Okay.
13. they have to.
We are
they
debating
would go
NDP 12
together.
right now. That's why.
She
Okay.
just wanted to let everyone know that it does kind of flow with 12, number 13, but we're voting on NDP.
Okay, so we are debating NDP 12. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
And do you want me to read the amendment out? Do you want me to make it very clear? I think everyone has it in front of them.
I think they all have it. Seeing no debate, shall NDP 12 carry? No. So we've got 2 yays and the rest noes. Are you okay if we do it on division? Defeat on division, yeah. Defeated on division. Okay.
Defeated?
Defeated. NDP 13.
So again, this is the same. This is the same that we are now looking at making sure that there is an amicus curiae that is there. So that is setting out the rules to make sure that there is these protections that are put in place as the minister is making decisions on organizations. This is giving the CSOs, the NGOs that are doing this work, a fair judicial process, that their interests and rights would be considered, that would be cared for. I think that this is a very reasonable expectation that organizations should have, that they would be protected in this process. It gives the organizations the confidence that they are actually being given a fair trial, and takes away the potential to weaponize this legislation. You know, we are talking about the most vulnerable people in the world, that these are places in the world where things are very quickly moving, and it's very, very difficult. We also know that these are areas of the world that on occasion are weaponized by our Canadian government, to be perfectly honest. So we want to make sure that there is protections that are put in place, and this is one of those key protections that we should be putting in place to make sure that NGOs applying for the authorization under this regime are offered the fair judicial process that they are entitled to.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Seeing no further debate, shall NDP 13 carry? Yes. Okay. Carries. NDP 14. Ms. McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. NDP 14 clarifies the reporting and transparency as recommended in the brief that was given to the committee by the sector. This amendment would require that the minister table its annual report within the first 90 days of the calendar year instead of 180 days. It would also require the minister to disclose how many applications for authorizations were made, approved, or refused in the previous year. And it would also require the minister to forward an unredacted report to NSCOP and NCIRA.
Thank you. Shall NDP 14 carry? Yes. Okay. Carries. CPC 3.
Thank you, Chair. In recognition of the fact that there are a lot of questions about how this regime would work and the functioning of the bill, we have proposed an amendment that would significantly beef up the review requirements and move the timeline forward, basically asking the government to report back to the committee within a year in a detailed way about how well this is working and if further changes are required. And I think given the urgency of passing C41, but also some of the questions about it, it makes sense for us to, I think the approach we've taken is to pass it, but also to call for a quick review within a year to see is it working or not. Thanks.
Ms. Demuth?
Thanks, Chair. We will support it, but would like to sub-amend it to add "and every 5 years thereafter." So the initial review would be done after a year, but if we don't add that in, then it gets reviewed once after a year and never again. So we would like to add "and every 5 years thereafter," but we do support the change that the Conservatives have put forward.
Okay, so voting on the sub-amendment to CPC 3, I see all yeas. Carries. Shall CPC 3 as amended carry? Yes, perfect, carried. Now shall clause 1 as amended carry? Yes. Okay. Clause 2, we have NDP 15. Ms. McPherson?
I won't be moving this, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Clause 3, we have NDP 16.
And again, I will not be moving this one either. Thank you.
Before that, shall Clause 2 carry?
Yes.
And now Clause 3, and you said you're not moving it, Ms. McPherson, NDP 16? Okay. So shall Clause 3 carry? Yes. Shall Clause 4 carry?
Yes.
Shall Clause 5 carry? Shall all remaining clauses carry? Yes. Shall the title carry? Yes. Shall the bill as amended carry?
Yes.
Yes. Shall the chair report the bill as amended to the House? Yes. Shall the committee order a reprint of the bill as amended for the
Mr. Chair, can we
use
get
of
a
the-
vote on that last one, please? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
You were just going very fast.
oh, sorry. Shall the bill as, shall the chair report the bill as amended to the House?
I'd like that to be a recorded vote, please.
A recorded vote, yes. Okay.
Madame Damoff.
Yes.
Madame Brière.
Oui.
Madame Diab.
Oui.
Monsieur Souza.
Yes.
Madame Dillon. Monsieur Genwis.
Yes.
Monsieur Moore.
Yes.
Madame Vecchio.
Yes.
Monsieur Couric.
Yes.
Monsieur Brunet-Duceppe.
Oui.
Madame McPherson.
No.
Yea 10. Nay 1.
Yea 10, nay 1. It carries. Shall the committee order a reprint of the bill as amended for the use of the House at report stage? Okay, well, okay. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Janus?
That we've now completed this bill, I understand there's agreement for us to consider a motion put forward by Mr. Moore.
Absolutely, Mr. Moore?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think the clerk had circulated this motion to everyone regarding, you don't need me to read the motion, do you? Everybody's got it. So I'd like to move the motion.
Shall the motion from Mr. Moore on denouncing the Taliban carry? Can we have yes, we can have a recorded vote.
Just a little second, Mr. Chair. I have some changes to do.
Point d'ordre. Est-ce que c'est possible de la...
Would it be possible to have it? I don't have it with me. Sorry about that.
la motion?
May I have the text of the motion?
Let's have one they can share with Monsieur Bernard.
I have the English in front of me, but maybe if the clerk has the French version, he could read out the French so that it's.
The motion for Mr. Moore carry?
Yeah,
Oh,
recorded vote. Yeah.
Madame Damoff.
Yes.
Madame Brière.
Oui.
Madame Diab.
Oui.
Monsieur Souza.
Yes.
Madame Dillon. Mr. Genwis.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Madame Vecchio.
Yes.
Mr. Couric.
Yes.
Monsieur Brunet-Duceppe.
Oui.
Madame McPherson.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. all in
Carries. And motion meets the 48-hour notice requirement for debate and vote. And I'll, if, I think it requires, if I could table it on Monday, would that be okay? We can do it in person. The bill will be, I think adopt the motion, I think, would be in effect. So I would table the motion on under reporting.
You might as well table them both at once. But,
Sure.
But I would just say, because of discussions that are, I think, happening among House leaders, tabling the bill ASAP is.
Will do.
Thanks.
That's it, unless we have anything else. We're good to go? Yes, Ms. Demuth.
I just want to thank everyone for their efforts. It's been a bumpier journey than I think maybe we anticipated initially, and I want to thank the members of the Justice Committee for their patience in letting us come and usurp your committee and overtake your agenda for a while. But I acknowledge that not everyone thinks the bill is perfect. I don't think the bill is perfect either, but I think it's something that for those of us, Alexi and I sat on the special committee on Afghanistan, and I know how deeply disturbed by what we heard, and this is one of the recommendations that came out of that report. So I just want to thank everyone from all parties for their efforts to see us to get us here today. And Chair, thank you for letting us come in here. And anyway, I just want to thank everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and I too want to thank especially all our visiting members for hashing this out and ironing a lot of this stuff out on your own time and saving us. And I apologize and sometimes canceling the meetings on a very short notice due to some negotiations going back, but really appreciate it. I want to also thank the government officials who have time and time come out and given their valuable insight, although today you didn't have to do anything, so it was great. So thank you so much, and we are now adjourned. See you next week.